Well, I don't know how many of you know this about me, but I just so happen to have a friend who is a level 4 Santa. Level 4? That's right, I said it. Oh, you don't know about this? Oh, her name is Joanna. She's a minister, a friend of mine, and a mom. And she decided with the children and adults in her family that they love Santa and all of the Christmas time and the spirit of giving, but they decided that for them, they weren't satisfied just sitting around waiting to get gifts from someone. They wanted to practice acting like Santa Claus for other people. Level 4, my friend says, is when you start in this season to act like Santa for people who are not in your family or close circle of friends. Neighbor down the street, the person that you meet coming out of the store, a stranger, a name on a tree. But the catch to the level 4 Santa game is that they can't know it was you who gave them an act of kindness or a gift. My friend Joanna says that for a level 4 at this time of year, there is a lot of whispering and giggling. It's a time where it's very appropriate to knock on someone's door and leave something and run away laughing. The joy for her family comes, she says, in practicing making the world a little more full of magic for the people that they meet. Joanna wrote about why her family does this, and she said this: "Because I believe in people. People can be generous beyond your imagination, loving to complete strangers, in fact, extenders of awesome grace. I am here to tell you," she says, "I am here to tell you people are good. And they will overwhelm you with their willingness to make things better for others." I first saw these words when my friend wrote them and posted them online, and she posted them early last Friday morning, around a week ago. My friend Joanna reposted the same words on Saturday morning with one addition. She said, "I still believe." With all of our failings and the very real disappointments that we have and the very real and important mistakes that we can make as human beings, our church and our tradition has rested and found inspiration on the claim that there is something profoundly transforming in the goodness of the human heart. That our meaning and hope, our life's love, is not to be found in fear that human beings were born depraved, but in knowledge that we are good and holy just as we are. And you know as well as I do that some days and weeks and years can test that belief in us more than others. In the past couple of weeks on Facebook and in office emails floating around, I've seen this quotation from Fred Rogers 2 or 3 different times. The Presbyterian minister and icon of children's programming said that when the world seemed frightening to him, and there were events that he heard about that were scary, his mother would say this: "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping," she said. I think Mr. Rogers has made his way into at least 2 worship services so far this year, and that's not a bad thing, I guess. Look for the helpers in hard times, he says. That's one of the interesting things I think about hearing some different sides of the story around the Nativity. We usually only get one version, and I like getting different points of view. I wonder if anybody in the room identified with one character more than others. I know I did. Maybe not the character I want to admit that I identified with. The stories in this nativity scene give us people that are a lot like us. Busy, tired, worried, curious about everyday things, presented with situations to be good, and sometimes they meet them and sometimes they don't. And they're people who are yearning for hope as much as thirsty people hope for water. It's a story full of people, some who are intent on harming others, and some who want to help others, and others who ignore the people that they meet, but most of them don't even know each other's names. It stood out to me in the story that the wise men end up saving the life of this infant Jesus who grows up to be this profound moral teacher, and yet he wouldn't have even known that they did this for him. In the story, these travelers end up risking what they have by lying to Herod and saving the life of this child, and the child's family, nor he, will ever even know their names. And in reading that, it made me wonder how many times you and I have been saved without knowing it. I wondered how many times as a child my parents had pulled me out of the street at the right moment. Or how many times on the highway another car has swerved to not meet my car without me even knowing it was going to happen. I wondered how many of us in the room have taken medicine that we needed that was made by people whose names we will never know, and the strong bridges and roads we travel that have kept us safe, built by people years ago whose names we will never know. Each of us nourished and sustained and even saved by people that we have harmed or helped or ignored. I think the lesson that stood out to me most in all of this year, though, was the shepherds. Here's this guy who's in the mess of it, too. He's cold, he's hungry, he's had a long day's work, and he sits down just to rest for a moment, and suddenly he gets this sense, even in the mess of things, a real mess, that it's good. He has this kind of gut feeling that he says makes the silence sound like angels' wings, that it sounds like a voice from God almost, and he can't tell exactly what that voice sounded like, but he knows it sounded a lot like what he had said to his friends. By God, brothers and sisters, it's good. The crust, the mud, everything. Everything. I think sometimes hungry shepherds need this reminder, and sometimes we do too. In a season that is dark and is often fueled by consumption, and for the last few weeks has been difficult to make meaning of in our country, the idea that the message that the holy would send to a drunk, hungry shepherd with a muddy mouthful of bread would be, by God, brothers and sisters, it's good. See, nothing in the story, either the biblical one or the one we heard this morning, promises a life without difficulty or sickness or anger or violence or confusion. It doesn't promise us that any of these will be absent, but it does promise that it's possible for you and for me to let these things down for a moment and to offer our kind souls to one another as a gift of the holy. By God, brothers and sisters, it's good. Sometimes the message comes by a star at night, and sometimes it comes from the muddy mouth of a raving shepherd. He says that it's not like the world suddenly came to be that wasn't there before. He said he saw these things because the world as it was and the people as they were started coming into focus. He saw them as they really were. And I think this is the funny thing about Christmas. We get the chance to see each other as we really are. But sometimes it takes turning the lights off and lighting candles and singing songs and reading ancient magical stories. It takes being reminded of this, though, by a star at night, or the hymns, or a shepherd with a mouthful of muddy bread, or from a level 4 Santa. And I will tell you that this year, as we prepare to light our candles and see each other as we really are, amid very real difficulty and joy indeed, I am casting my lot and my hope for the world and my true love in the goodness that I have seen in all the helpers I have encountered this year. How many acts of goodness in this congregation alone? How much evidence that there are helpers and goodness and hope being birthed into this world. My friend Joanna wrote, "People can be generous beyond your imagination, loving to complete strangers even, extenders of awesome grace." She wrote, "I am here to tell you people are good, and they will overwhelm you with their willingness to make things better for others." Why make the night any longer or darker or colder than it needs to be? Why make a world that can be harsh any harsher? My friends, in the coming days, let's prove my friend Joanna right. For people yearning for hope, the call this year is for us in this room to behave in a way that would prove them right. By God, brothers and sisters, it's good. The days ahead are busy and full. Don't leave behind any opportunity to offer kindness and help to those you meet. For your life to be evidence that there is something good and precious and holy in a human life. By God, brothers and sisters, it's good. May it be so in you and all your days. Amen.